7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
All right, and welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It is Sunday. We are discussing the Divisional Round playoffs Sunday games. Houston at Kansas City, the 3:05 p.m. Eastern start time. And Seattle going up to Lambeau to take on Green Bay at 6:40 p.m. Eastern. I got Spike here with me, and let's talk about these games before we get too far in. Let's thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports, obviously, where we air every weekend. See Giant, promo code 12 Ounce Sports for discounted sporting events, theater, and concert tickets. At first glance, Spike, these games, which one interests you more?
I think the Seattle-Green Bay game interests me. I would like to watch both. Unfortunately, the wife is having some kind of crafting group over at the house, so the hens are going to take over the living room, and I'm going to be relegated to watching games in my office, which is never fun, because I still haven't bought new furniture or rearranged my desk or anything. Fuck, I got to do that.
What are you looking back at the wall for?
I for some reason, I decided to look at my house, which is in the general direction of looking behind me in the studio here. I don't quite know what the point of that was.
Fair enough. You did look the right way, though. All right, so Kansas City at home, a 10-point favorite, the total 51, and Green Bay at home, a 4.5-point favorite, the total is 47. We are going to start, obviously, with the early game, Houston at Kansas City. And initial thoughts, you got Deshaun Watson versus Pat Mahomes, two of the premier quarterbacks. Many will say these two guys are part of the future of the NFL.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate that. I liked Watson quite a bit last year. He kind of let me down a little bit. They've obviously improved this year, and winning the division, winning that first playoff game, definitely showed me something. But in this game, as much as I've been shitting all over Kansas City's defense all year, they actually haven't been as bad as I've probably made them out to be. God damn it, now I'm coughing.
That was yesterday, sir.
Yeah. Fucking carrying over like that.
When do you look at your house again?
Why, you think that's going to cure my cold? Oh, Christ, I got to take down the Christmas lights, too. Jesus Christ.
Dude, it's January.
I know, I forgot. The HOA hasn't yelled at me yet, so that's,
there you go.
That's my
Leave them up
motivation.
till June.
No, I think that Kansas City's defense isn't nearly as bad as I've been making them out to be, and I don't know that Watson can do enough in this game to really get the Texans into a spot where they keep this even competitive. I think this is the type of game where by maybe halfway through the third quarter, the announcers start wondering when Mahomes is going to get pulled because it's just no point in keeping him in there anymore. I don't like anything about what Houston is doing, except for the fact that the head coach went to the same high school that I did. Different classes, but the same high school that I went to.
Speaking of Bill O'Brien, we were talking about earlier, I was discussing with some friends about Matt Rule getting hired, and obviously...
Ja Rule?
Yeah, Ja Rule, too. That's his cousin.
Okay.
That's his cuz. Matt Rule getting hired by Carolina, and the contract he received for, obviously, a first-time head coach put him in the top 6 in terms of contracts. And I said, even though he has no experience, it's really hard to root against a guy like Matt Rule, even if you hate the Panthers, because of what he did. He went into a program in Baylor right after the Art Briles sex ring scandal thing and turned it around. He was the only guy to basically want to walk into a dumpster fire, a la Bill O'Brien in Penn State. So it's really hard to root against a guy who actually decides to take on challenges like that. Because every other coach is like, well, I'm not going in there. If you're going to fire me in 3 years. He turned the program around. He won 11 his first year. And then his third year, he went 11-3 and played for a Big 12 championship. And I'm not 100% sure. Like, taking all of that objectively out, I'm not 100% sure Matt Rule's the right coach for the NFL, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about the playoffs. That being said, Bill O'Brien, you're right. I see a kind of similarity in trajectory. His team has been good, despite all of the different injuries. J.J. Watt is in and out of the lineup. Jadavion Clowney was traded for a bag of potato chips, and yet here they are, division winners of a very weak AFC South. But nevertheless, you play who's on your schedule. They're in. They won the division. They won, I believe. Again, we didn't even check this after the last podcast. I believe they won the first time they've ever gotten to the divisional round. I think they won. I don't know. Did they win their first playoff game in history?
No, they must have. Oh. All right, let's look it up.
All right, let's look it up.
All right, here we go.
So
Houston Texans playoff history.
So, anyways, but Deshaun Watson, this guy's not going to live forever the way he just keeps getting destroyed back in the pocket.
Yeah, and this has always been my problem with mobile quarterbacks, is that if they're not smart enough to adapt their game so that they're able to throw the ball.
But the problem is, it's not even that. He gets hit in the pocket. He was the most sacked quarterback in the league. Actually, second most sacked quarterback in the league. That's not a scrambling quarterback. He's getting drilled.
Oh yeah,
he can't move. He's trying to move. He has to move to get away from getting destroyed.
Yeah, and that offensive line has been terrible.
Yes,
but in previous years, even with good offensive lines, good mobile quarterbacks, we still see those quarterbacks take big hits when they try to do too much with their legs. And there are times where scrambling makes a lot of sense, and there are times where it doesn't. So it's sort of the balancing act. And younger quarterbacks, especially when they come out of college, they go into the pros, and they think they can run around like madmen like they did in college, are going to find that they very much can't.
No, they've won a few games.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I pulled it up here. This is their fourth playoff win in history.
It just felt like for a long time they got to the wild card and couldn't win. For I think the David Carr years or whatever, or the Matt Schaub years, excuse me.
Oh.
But you're right. Yeah, they've won a few playoff games.
Yeah.
All right, I lied. It just felt like, I don't know why, it felt like their first win in history. I feel like there would have been more news on that, so clearly I was wrong.
Yeah, that's all right.
That's okay. I've been wrong once before. It was weird.
Yeah, it happens every once in a while.
Let's talk about the other quarterback, Mahomes. Obviously, he missed, I believe it was 2 or 3 games with the dislocated kneecap. Nevertheless, he went from throwing 50 touchdowns in his MVP year to just 26 this year. Again, I know the injury, but it seems like you would say Mahomes definitely regressed this year, even though they're 12-4.
Yeah, well,
that underbet didn't work out for you this year either.
Yeah, no, it didn't. I thought they were definitely not going to make it, but
worked out for the Rams.
Yeah, I was going to say it worked out for the Rams, and then
you had 9.5, right?
No, I had 10.5 for the Rams.
10.5, okay.
And the only thing that I'm kicking myself for is that one of the ways I could have made even more money because the Lions were good enough was betting on the other 3 teams in the division to win the NFC West, which I failed to do and definitely should have.
Yeah, I think San Francisco was like 8 or 10-1.
Yeah, that wouldn't have surprised me. But
and if you had Seattle too, you'd had a free roll in week 17.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
It's okay. Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, what can you do? So,
all right, so going forward.
Yeah, so this is... Yes, Mahomes did regress from last year to this year, but I think because of the way the team is built, it was a year where he didn't have to do as much as he did last year to carry the team. And like I said, the defense, as much as I've been shitting on them this year, they're not really as bad as I've been making them out to be. They're significantly better than they were last year, or at least they felt that they were better. So, I don't know. I like the way that Kansas City is built. Like I said in yesterday's podcast, I think Mahomes has a lot of pressure on him, not just to win this game, but to actually get to the Super Bowl now that the Patriots are out of it, because that's kind of his Achilles heel at this point.
Yeah, that's true. And you talked yesterday about Lamar Jackson's embarrassment of riches. I would even argue that Mahomes has more. I mean, you look, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, Mecole Hardman. But, and this is the big but I've been kind of keeping an eye on, is throughout the year, Andy Reid has been holding Shady McCoy out of games. to get him. And his reasoning was, I want him fresh for the playoffs. What do we see out of this run game for the Chiefs this week? Because you have McCoy, you have Damian Williams, who at the last game of the year rushed for 124 and 2 touchdowns. So it's not like he's a slouch either. But they specifically, I mean, McCoy was inactive for, I believe, 4 or 5 games this year for that reason.
Yes. So I think the running game is going to be key for Kansas City, not just because of what you were saying about McCoy being held out, but I think it's also Kansas City. I know it's foolish to say this, but it still needs to be said. They can't be looking at Houston and not be looking forward to Baltimore. So I think in a bigger picture kind of way, they're going to be holding back not some of the players, but some of the playbook.
Okay.
And I think that this is a time where putting together running formations and having more of that and keeping things on the ground is going to be better in this game than it would be in Baltimore. So I think this is the type of thing where we can see Andy Reid go to Mahomes and say, don't worry about stats, just keep the ball on the ground, let's keep the ball churning, and it'll put it in the end zone that way. So that way when they do play against Baltimore, then they can get creative, they can get fancy, they can do what they need to do, especially going on the road in Baltimore. I can definitely see them opening up a little bit more, and they don't want to give that away in this game against Houston.
And that's fair, and I can understand that thought process. However, Houston walked into Kansas City earlier this year and beat them.
Yeah.
With all of these guys healthy.
Yeah, yes they did.
So, that being said, I understand why you would think Kansas City would need to play conservatively, but they got to make sure they beat this team. And, I mean, this team's no slouch. Like I said, they walked in and beat them in their own house earlier this year. Last calendar year.
Well, yeah.
Keep wanting to say that last year, even though it's technically right.
Yeah, technically right is the best
Not
kind of
last
correct.
season.
Yes, last calendar year. I'm looking at the Seattle game.
October 13, 2019. Houston
Yes.
31, Kansas City 24.
Yes,
There you go.
I got it here. All right. I think one of the things that impressed me, especially in the in the wild card game this past week, was Watson really making 0 mistakes, but not only that, throwing for like 75% or something, but also that way that he was able to escape that sack at the end of the game that kept that drive going was just it was inhuman. Like
I thought he was dead. And then he just popped right out.
Yeah, popped up and threw the ball, and next thing you know, they had 50 yards under their belt. So, but that's not the kind of thing that you can rely on in order to win a game that's this big against a team that's as good as Kansas City. Because, yes, Houston was able to beat Kansas City earlier this year, but Kansas City's not Buffalo. They can do a lot more things.
Agreed.
And I think this is a spot where, Kansas City not only has to be thinking about going into Baltimore and, avenging what happened to them last year against the Patriots, but also avenging this loss to Houston that they had earlier this season. Not calendar year, but season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, avenging the loss obviously is paramount. Kansas City losing this game, we talked about yesterday, pressure on the quarterbacks. Kansas City cannot lose this game for Pat Mahomes' sake.
Yes.
As far as what do we start talking about here with him, because you're talking about the regression pattern of conference championship to divisional playoff, and especially if Lamar Jackson is the guy who he would have been facing in the conference championship, because that would have been the talking point all week. I believe Kansas City does win this game, although I would like to see kind of a little revenge factor of, like, if Houston were to win this game, Carlos Hyde rushing for the game-winning touchdown after getting traded preseason from the Chiefs to the Texans. Kansas City, you have Kansas City on a money line part of your ticket. Although this could be dead depending on when you're listening to this on Sunday.
Yeah.
I am on another teaser in this spot. I have teased this with another game.
Oh.
Obviously, the other game.
I was going to say.
The other game today. I am on Houston plus 17 points.
Okay.
I think Kansas City will win this game, but I believe Houston. I think a lot of the reason this is a double-digit spread is because Houston had to come back at home, and they are a roller coaster team this year. I mean, against the spread, they are 8-1. I mean, that's as mundane as you can get.
Yeah.
4-2-1. They are better on the road. It looks like at 4-2-1 on the road, so that makes them 4-6 at home. So that can't be right.
Yeah. That's, what did you say, 8-1? So they had 17 games. What did you say, 4-3-1 on the road?
4-2-1 on the road.
No, there's another game in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's too many games. 4, 2, 6, and 7. Math is hard.
Yeah, all right. Never mind.
Hey, I just go what it says here. So
one of us has just got off work, one of us is going to work, and neither of us have brains that are working right now.
Exactly. So, nevertheless, I'll take the plus 17, and I don't know what the weather forecast looks like, but it makes me really want the over in the spot if it's a clear day.
Yeah, and I think even if it's slightly rainy or, cold, that kind of thing doesn't really bother me. Looking like no rain in the forecast that I can see.
Yeah, so I'm looking at 31-27 in this spot.
Yeah,
but just in case there's a two touchdown, I'll take the 7 extra points.
Yeah, 31-27. I could see something more like a 38-24 type game. I think it's a bigger victory for Kansas City. I don't actually have the bet on Kansas City minus 10, but I wouldn't shy away from that if I were putting in another bet trying to avenge my parlay loss.
All right, Seattle and Green Bay. This number is 4.5. A lot of that money is coming in on Seattle. They're getting 60% of the action. Total 47 in this spot. Packers 13-3. We talked about it yesterday. Some people are saying maybe the worst 13-3 team they've seen. I don't get that. I don't understand. Is it just because Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown 50 touchdowns this year?
It's got to be. I don't see any other reason.
They're not relying on him to do that. I like the fact that they're doing that.
Yeah, no, it's a different Packers team than what we've seen in the past, and I think that it's obviously paying dividends for them. Number 2 seed overall in the NFC, 13-3 record. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and you don't want to screw with something that's working for you this year.
Yeah, I mean, so let's take a look. I mean, you have Russell Wilson on the road. They are 8-1 on the road, straight up. Packers are 7-1 at home. So one good trend's obviously going to break a little bit here.
Yep.
I think the run game's key for both of these teams. One team has a solid running back in Aaron Jones, and one team has their 4th-string running back and a guy they picked up off the street and retreaded Madden 2015 with. Edge, Packers.
Yeah, well, that's reasonable. But this is a spot where I think this is going to come down to coaching. And I think we're just going to see a spot where Pete Carroll finds a way to edge out the game over a rookie head coach. And not to say that LaFleur is going to make mistakes. I just think Carroll is going to do more in order to get his team ready, in order to put in the right game plan, in order to get his team in the right spot in order to win this game. This, to me, feels like the kind of game where, Aaron Rodgers is riding high, he's had a good quarterback and everything else, and then next thing you know, he gets smacked in the mouth early in the game, and then the entire game plan falls to shit.
It's totally plausible.
You don't have a coach there that is able to pick him back up, to give him that pep talk, because he hasn't been in that spot before. So he's not going to know how to react, and I think that's going to hurt them.
So the last time Marshawn Lynch played the Packers, 183 scrimmage yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
You take the under on that? 183?
I would actually prefer the over, because For those of you listening, I actually won the Vegas Squares fantasy football contest, and because of that, I was invited to the Tournament of Champions, which is set up more like a daily fantasy contest through Yahoo.
Oh, do tell.
It's got a $10,000 guaranteed prize pool. So,
since you won our fantasy league?
So because I won our fantasy league, I got a free entry into that Tournament of Champions thing.
Oh.
So I picked up Marshawn Lynch for my my running back in that league. So if we're saying 183 yards, I want the over. I want the over.
Yeah, fair enough. In 12 career playoff games, Lynch does have 10 rushing touchdowns, and Green Bay is a defense that has surrendered 124 yards a game on the ground. Not great. That matchup could be key here.
Yeah, it's not ideal for Green Bay.
I will tell you what I want to see before I actually make a pick.
All right, go for it.
I want to see this game go to overtime.
Oh.
And during the coin toss, I want to see the Seattle Seahawks win the coin toss. And I want to see Russell Wilson go, we want the ball, and we're going to score. Now, what happens after that, I don't know. Pick six the other way with Al Harris going to come back on the field. Do you remember that from Matt Hasselbeck?
I remember that vividly.
I'll never forget that. It was like the third play. He just throws a pick six.
Yep.
He was right. Someone scored.
Someone scored, yeah.
But that being said, to finish off the teaser, I am taking Seattle plus 11.5 points.
Wow. That's
and I have some action on the money line.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say that for me, this feels like the game, the only upset of the week. I think, and I don't even think it's that much of an upset because Seattle's playing such good football right now, and I think their record,
especially on the road,
doesn't reflect exactly how good this team is just because of that division they're in, because of how fucking cutthroat the NFC West is.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about how average they did play, and I don't disagree with them, especially last week. Carson Wentz goes out, that game should have been a bigger number in difference of points. But it's still hard to play football on the road, and Russell Wilson has to play the defense. Carson Wentz, I thought Josh McCown actually played halfway decent, all things considered.
And apparently he had some kind of sprained ankle or some kind of strain or something that he played through for the entire second half.
Wilson?
No, McCown.
Josh McCown?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that headline today. I didn't get a chance to read the article, but yeah, he was definitively injured while he was out there playing the second half, and they didn't have a way to get him out of there because they had nobody to.
Yeah, there's no one else to play.
Yeah.
They had Greg Ward.
I was going to say
they needed somebody to throw to.
Yeah,
Greg Ward played quarterback at Houston a couple years ago. So actually, he was a really good quarterback in college. But yeah, I'm on to finish off the teaser with the money line. I'm on Seattle plus 11.5.
Yeah, I'm also on Seattle straight money line. You can obviously make an argument for just sticking with the points and hoping for the best, but I think the money line is too good of a value to pass up, and I think this is a spot that Seattle can and should win this game.
All right, so now comes the fun part.
All right.
Just kidding.
No.
There's no fun part. It's over.
Oh. All right.
I just wanted to see your face.
I thought we were doing some kind of new playoff contest, but then I remembered that you said you didn't want to do that. Plus, we don't have the tokens here, so
yeah, no tokens.
Yeah.
We can do something for conference championships and Super Bowl. Maybe a little something.
Yeah, well, we got to do some at the very least for just like a prop bet bonanza.
Oh, of course,
and like have some kind of contest based on that.
That's fair. I'm good with that. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up. No fun parts in this podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
There'll be more coming down the line for the conference championships and for the obviously can we say it? The Superb Owl.
The
Superb Owl. Yes. The big game. So for Spike, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening in. Thank the sponsors one more time. Seat Giant, promo code 12-ounce sports for discounts on sporting events, concerts, and theater tickets. And of course, 12-ounce sports for airing our dribble every weekend. All right, we are out. Good luck with your bets.